I just recorded this entire recap. It was like 15 minutes long, and then realized at the end I was using the wrong mic. So it literally all had no sound. But yeah, I guess I'll just do it again. So, trade recap for today. I took one trade. It was a short on NQ. It was real clean, so let's get into that again. So, going into this day, let me clean up the charts right quick. But going into this day, I was bullish. Now, why am I bullish? Because I recognize that in the overnight session, this market maker sell model has actually been complete, and we have swept out internal sell side, and we're coming out of this 1 hour for value gap. And then I go to the 15-minute time frame, and hang on, let me go to pre-market right quick. So I go to the 15-minute time frame, and this is what we look like at market open. And I'm like, okay, I like that we've swept sell side. We're coming out of the 1 hour. We're getting displacement higher. We've got a 15-minute change in the state and a 15-minute bullish for value gap here. So I'm like, okay, I want to see this hold bullish, and I want to see the next form of buy side, basically. So I'm bullish towards the next target, which is what I recognize this 1 hour bearish for value gap that has not yet been tapped. So at market open, we had this large bearish imbalance that was untapped, and I was wanting to see the market potentially come up and tap this here. So what time was it? It was 8:14, so I need to go forward a little bit. So we end up getting an SMT right off the rip at market open, a really clean SMT. So NQ ends up sweeping out all of these internal lows. ES does not. So this ends up being an SMT, and at the same time, this was also a 5-minute for value gap here. So these were intermediate lows inside of this 5-minute bullish for value gap right here. And notice what else we're doing on this rebalance. Right here, we are coming back to OTE of this price leg. So like on the 5-minute. So you can see we have this move higher. Market rebalances to OTE, sweep internal sell side, SMT gets put in. We're holding the inverse for value gap. We're holding the bullish for value gap. Sell side's been taken out on the bigger time frame. We're coming out of the 1 hour for value gap, displacing higher. I am bullish here. It's very obvious that we're bullish. Now, here's where I went wrong. I should have taken my long on tops or non top set. I use top set for the 30-second time frame, but what ends up happening is, what am I waiting for? I'm waiting for the reaction of this SMT, right? We end up getting a beautiful 30-second inverse, like right off the rip. And this is what it looks like. So this was a 30-second bearish for value gap here. The market immediately trades higher. We close above this. Now, I low-key, honestly, I just hesitated here. I did not end up taking this entry. This is exactly what I was looking for. We had the manipulation here. We had the 5-minute for value gap holding bullish. We had the internal SMT. We had this 15-minute for value gap holding bullish. And then for the cherry on top, we had the 30-second inverse. Now, I just didn't really like, I don't even know. Like, maybe it was too early for me. It was just pretty volatile range. This was like a 70-point candle, but I basically just hesitated and did not end up taking this entry. But like I said, I wanted to see this untapped 1 hour get tapped, and this trade ends up playing beautifully. So we come straight up, tap the 1 hour, and at this point in time, I was like, bruh, whatever. So right now I'm just watching because I pretty much recognize we could continue higher here towards this untapped 15-minute, or maybe the market wants to sell. I wasn't really sure at this point, so I'm just waiting. So we end up putting in an initial high here, sweeping that high, and then we end up getting displacement lower. So when I see this internal manipulation, we're coming from this 1 hour for value gap here, and then we start to displace. I'm like, okay, I would like to see this be a sell model now, sell side of the curve, and I am now bearish. So what ends up happening is I wait for the highest time frame for value gap and this price leg to get ran through to take my entry. Now, what ends up happening is this. So this is the highest time frame, which is the 4-minute. But this candle closes like all the way down here. Like we dump all the way to Narnia before this 4-minute candle closes. So I am not able to take an entry here because if I go back to the 4-minute chart, as you can see, we are pretty far down at this point. And I'm like, okay. Like at this point in time, I was like, okay, this is probably about to just play out and I'm going to miss the entry. So I was about to miss my long and my short. But luckily, we do end up getting a rebalance. So basically, like quickly recap, we've now got the change in the state. We're coming from a 1 hour. The bigger time frame is still extremely bearish. Like, yes, I do recognize that we've completed the sell model, but I'm not just going to automatically switch my bias to bullish simply because we've taken out sell side. I'm not going to say like, oh, we're going to get bought up all the way, to here or this high here. Like, in order for me to think that this is the draw on liquidity, what do we need to do? We need to trade up through bearish imbalances on the bigger time frame. So, but as long as this imbalance holds bearish, I will continue to be bearish. And especially once I see this big sell-off here, big sell-off, change in the state, inverse for value gap, coming from a 1 hour for value gap with an intermediate low, with a 1 hour intermediate low, resting lower. So I am now extremely bearish, and I just want to see a rebalance higher. So what ends up happening is we get that rebalance here. So we open up a bearish. So keep in mind, this is the 4 hour or 4 minute inverse. But what ends up happening is we open up a 5 minute bearish for value gap, and this is I really like the way this looks here. So imbalance, 5 minute imbalance opens up bearish. We come up into it, and then here is where some sketchy price action takes place. So let me delete this right quick. So this actually ends up being an SMT, and I'll explain the relevance of that in a second. So as you can see, this is an SMT, and so I have a bullish SMT that's kind of going against my bearish bias, but I don't really care too much about this, and I'll explain why that is in a second. But we come up to this 5 minute bearish for value gap here, and then what would be my entry here? I would be waiting for an inverse for value gap from the reaction of this. So we end up opening up this 1 minute here. This 1 minute bullish for value gap opens up, and then we do get the inverse for value gap. However, I do not take this short. So this is the model. We're coming from OTE of this price leg. We're coming from the 5 minute change in the state of delivery. As you can see here, 5 minute change in the state, 5 minute bearish for value gap, coming from a 1 hour with sell side resting below. So this is the model, but I don't take this trade because of ES. Notice at this point in time, look where my cursors line up at 852. ES comes all the way up, but we leave perfect equal highs. ES never sweeps out this high. So ES comes up, sells off, while NQ is also getting an inverse. But I do not like this at all on ES because we're just generating buy side liquidity. So I'm like, okay, maybe this goes, but I'm just not a fan of it. So what ends up happening is this trade fails. So inverse does not hold. The market gets bought up. Now when the market gets bought up, now look where my cursors line up. ES has now swept out these equal highs beautifully. So now that this happens here, what else do we do? Notice ES takes out this high. So we put in a beautiful bearish SMT at the range high. So SMT gets put in from a 5 minute for value gap. Remember, we're coming out of the 5 minute change in the state. And notice on this rebalance, what have we done? We've generated all of this sell side liquidity here. So at this point in time, what am I waiting for? An inverse for value gap. So what happens? We open up this 1 minute bullish for value gap here. We are coming from a bearish 5 minute, coming from the bearish change in the state. I think I already showed it, but here. And then I'm waiting for the inverse for value gap, which happens right here. So beautiful sell-off, beautiful reaction from this SMT. And this is where I take my short here on this candle closure. My stop is at the high, and I'm targeting the low. And as you can see, this trade plays out absolutely beautifully. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But I also want to add, right quick, I forgot to mention this, but another thing that I really liked about this short was, so look at this rebalance right here. So I'll just make it real obvious. So this rebalance right here, what do we end up doing? So keep in mind, when I'm looking at the market, when I'm just looking at the charts, I'm always switching between all of the different time frames. I'm not just sticking on the 1 minute, like freaking zoomed in and being like, oh my gosh, market's selling, let me take a short. Like I'm always switching between the 5 minute, the 1 hour, the 15 minute, like every single time frame, the 4 hour, and I'm just constantly, I'm getting every single angle of this that I can possibly have. So when I go to the 15 minute right here, I recognize something that looks really nice. So this 15-minute candle right here that trades into this 1 hour for value gap here, what do we end up doing? So on this 15-minute candle at market open, we trade up into this 1 hour for value gap, but then we get a really nice rejection block. We sell off extremely heavily, leaving a very large wick. So what is this? This is a rejection block. And if you know anything about those, you know that consequent encroachment, which is 50% of a rejection block, is a very sensitive point in price that the market likes to respect with context and narrative, of course. So hang on. Let me mark out 50% of this and show you what I mean. So I see CE of this wick, and I notice that what is it in line with? It's in line with the 1 minute change in state and the 1 minute fair value gap. And notice what market ends up doing. We tap this to the absolute tick, literally. And then we come up, sweep it. Or no, we don't sweep it, but that's what I meant. ES ends up sweeping the high. So we tap CE of the 15-minute wick to the literal tick. It holds. ES sweeps the high of the range. Bearish SMT gets put in. And then NQ gets the 1 minute inverse, and then like I said, I take the short, and the short plays out beautifully. But look at what this looks like on the 15 minute. It's so clean. It's so insanely clean. We're coming from the 1 hour. We get this huge rejection block, and then the next 15 minute candle opens. We trade up, which is that rebalance I showed you. Tap this to the tick. Like it's not even a point. It's less than a point. It's a literal tick that we tap a consequent encroachment of the wick. So the rejection block holds bearish. And like I said, that rebalance is this move right here. So when we're rebalancing, we're coming to OTE of the price leg. We're coming to the 5 minute change in the state of delivery. We're coming to the 4 minute inverse for value gap. We're coming to the 5 minute bearish for value gap. We're coming to the 1 minute bearish for value gap, the 1 minute change in the state, and CE of the 15 minute rejection block. So all of those things are what's giving me my bias, my those are all my confluences for a short entry. And then when I see ES go up and take out this high right here, so you can see ES clearly sweeps buy side, NQ does not, so bearish SMT gets put in here. Then I wait for the reaction of the SMT and I see strong displacement through the 1 minute bearish for buy gap. Now I'm 100% bearish. I take my short and target the low. So yeah, that was today's trade, real clean. And I think since then we've just got bought up again, but yeah, who knows what happens after this, doesn't really matter. But yeah, real nice trade today. Like I said, I should have taken this long. It was a beautiful trade here. But if I would have taken this long, I wouldn't have taken the short though. Because like if I'm done, if I take a winning trade, 4 minutes in the market open, I'm getting off immediately. Like I don't ever try to stick on and take another setup, so I wouldn't have ended up taking the short. So, but yeah, that was kind of what happened. Beautiful long setup here. And then once we get the rejection from the 1 hour, we displace lower and then get the rebalance to all of those confluences I just mentioned a second ago, and then the 1 minute inverse. This is a very clean short. And then notice both models today, both the buy model and the sell model, were beautiful market maker buy models. Or not market maker. This was a market maker buy model, and this was a market maker sell model. And let me just show you what I mean. This just has the beautiful distinct look. This is such an obvious buy model here. We are trading off. This is buy side of the curve. Or no, this is sell side of the curve. We trade off lower into what? A key level. So we sweep out sell side and we tap the 1 hour. So sell side of the curve here, displacement back inside the range, which all of these inverse fair value gaps. So displacement back inside the range, pull back to the fair value gap, trade higher, leave buy side intact, market opens, we trade lower, turtle soup, we sweep out the internal low, get the 30-second inverse, and then trade up. And as you can see, this is sell side of the curve, and this is buy side of the curve. Now, once this internal market maker buy model gets complete, what do? We reject off of the 1 hour bearish fair value gap, get displacement lower, so clear displacement lower, the market, or we get an internal sweep and then clear displacement lower. And at this point in time, I recognize, what are we doing now? We have sell side resting lower. We have traded up into a key level, being the 1 hour fair value gap. So buy side of the curve trades higher into the 1 hour. Then what do? We get displacement back inside the range. So market displaces back inside of the range. We get the pullback to all of those key levels that I mentioned a second ago. We get internal manipulation. So high gets put in, then we come back up. ES sweeps the high. So internal manipulation, smart money reversal, and then what is the reaction to all of this? We get sell side of the curve here. So buy side of the curve trades up into a key level, displacement back inside the range, pull back, and then sell side of the curve. So these are literally both beautiful market. This is a market maker buy model, and this is a market maker sell model, but they literally share the same price leg. Like buy side of the curve on this model, but it's so crazy. Like it's just actually insane how the market works. This buy side of the curve here is also buy side of the curve here. Like I'm hoping you guys are seeing what I'm saying, what I'm trying to point out here. Like this is two separate models. This is a buy model here, and this is a sell model here, but they're also the same because they share the same price leg. So yeah, that's just pretty fascinating to me. But yeah, enough yapping. But yeah, real clean trade today. 1 for 1. Should have taken this long. Didn't end up doing it. Hesitated on the entry, but then I ended up taking this real nice short. So yeah, clean trade today.